Meeting to order,
You want to start the webinar?
please.
The webinar started.
Okay. So I will call the meeting to order at 7:01 on Monday, March 6th, 2023. We have consent agenda items. We have some purchasing card transactions. And where is it? I'll get some numbers here in just a second.
Purchasing card tonight?
What's that?
You don't have purchasing card transactions this evening?
Oh, I don't.
No purchase.
Oh, okay. Some consent agenda items and some professional staffing that does not require a vote. So I would look for a motion to approve last meeting's minutes and the consent agenda item and professional staffing items for approval.
I'll move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I can second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And we will move on to, do we have any student, no, that's after. So do we have any public comment tonight, Angie?
None that have been submitted so far. Would you be comfortable with me asking the members of the public?
Please do.
All right. All right, if you'd like to make a public appearance by speaking to the board, please utilize the Q&A portion found at the bottom of your Zoom window. In the Q&A, we would ask that you type your name, address, subject of interest, and whether you have discussed this item prior to the meeting with either the district administrator or President Howery. After submitting the information, I would transfer you over to speak to the board. Thank you.
Okay. In accordance with the school board policy 167.3, the McFarland School Board welcomes public comment during regular meetings. The board will accept public comments via individuals who are physically present at the board meeting, who are participating in the board meeting virtually, or who have sent an email to the board president or superintendent in advance of the meeting. Please note the following. Participants are required to register their intention to participate in the noticed public comment portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting, and shall begin their comments by stating their name, address, and group affiliation, if and when appropriate. Participants shall address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. The board members will not directly respond to comments and may only take action on topics that are on the published agenda. Participants are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes in duration. Written comments will have a word limit of 250. The portion of the meeting for public comment is limited to 60 minutes unless extended by a vote of the board. And finally, participants shall direct all comments to the board and observe reasonable decorum. Anything, Angie?
No, we have not had anyone register.
Okay, then in that case, we will move along to our McFarland High School student report.
I don't believe we have
We don't have one?
anybody this evening,
Okay,
because it is a very busy time at the high school.
Sure
And they are preparing for ACT coming up, and
I heard
they,
students talking about that today when I was in.
yes. So they
Strategizing.
sent their regrets, but I will share information on their behalf during my portion of the evening.
Very good. Informational items. Mr. Mahoney, the floor is yours.
I'm not making any promises, but we're going for a short meeting tonight.
Pressure's on. Well, I'm glad that I kept all the slides I did. So Angie's gonna pull the report up so you can view, and some of us, yes, will have to have our glasses. And there's a lot of information on here that I'm gonna highlight the main topics in that. This is a combined effort of information between myself and ESS and Sam, our local manager, and Carrie and our building administrative assistants. So yes, it is a partnership. So partnership equals success. And I label that slide and want to talk about the fact that in the past, we did have a third-party partnership with Teachers on Call, which we brought to the Dane County area with a couple other districts in 14-15. Some ask, why was that a pivotal year? We continued to try to find ways we could, I'll just be straight and honest, circumvent the legislator's decision to make things more challenging for retirees with double dipping scenarios. So having a third party that focuses purely on substitute management, and then also the fact that we could allow our retirees to come on board without jeopardizing anything about the Wisconsin retirement system was certainly one of the biggest pieces there.
Do we have interest? Do you
Yeah.
think, from our retired folks?
Oh, yeah,
Quite a few.
That's fantastic.
every day.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
We're lucky. So back then, it was, TOC was family-owned, and there was a regional manager, so there was more of a on-site, in the area person that could work with staff more locally. That transitioned over time, and by 2019, I think we were pulling our hair out as much as some of our subs were. So we started to take a look, and checked in with ESS back in 2019, and then we kind of got going with some things, and then something happened called COVID. So when we came out of COVID, we did not want to switch immediately. We needed some time to get back into the groove of things. The present, we jumped in with ESS. We're the first school district in the state of Wisconsin that has pulled ESS in. They are most commonly found anywhere from Maine all the way down to the south, Alabama, Georgia, up through Missouri, Tennessee, Carolinas. Closest school district that had them was in north suburbs of Chicago. So they are heavily territorial to the east and south, and a bit in the Midwest, including also Michigan. So we began that new partnership with them last June, and we hit it off running. Making that happen is certainly making sure you have a local manager that can help out, and we were successful in recruiting and partnering with ESS to hire Sam Pruden, who is hired through ESS. She is on site pretty much 3 to 5 days a week in her office here that we established. ESS doesn't require that their staff members be on site, but she felt more a part of it, and we knew that would be a success. She's blended in nicely with the district office and spends a lot of time out into the buildings, meeting with the building administrative assistants, and then also her subs. Carrie Roberts in our office has a huge partnership with Sam. This is Carrie's direct report or contract report to her. They have their weekly meetings, they do committee meetings, they've formed a committee that includes even some of the building administrative assistants and the subs. So they've conducted one meeting so far, and it went really well, and it's proved to give us some information that we need to move forward. And to have a strong partnership so that we can always be appreciative in doing the appreciations, and there's some more information. I'll touch on that in the future. The future, it's going to continue because we have some high energy folks that are involved, and we still have a need for subs. I can guarantee you it doesn't go with a day without knowing that we're going to be in need.
Are we still pretty much batting 1,000 on filling the sub needs that we've got?
Well, we're definitely in a Hall of Fame batting average, if you want to call it that. I mean,
That's a pretty high bar, I guess.
So, this next slide kind of addresses that. Our fill rate from August to February has been 85%. As you can see, we've had 2,390 requests, of which 2,000 have been filled. This is a couple hundred more positions and a higher fill rate percentage than if we were to compare to our last fiscal year, which is 21-22. If we were to go back to every year and grab the data, anything over 80% is remarkable. It's, you know, if you wanted us just to analyze Tuesday through Thursday, we'd probably be hitting that 95 to 100% all the time. And then those Mondays, Fridays, for some reason, seem to lag a little bit.
Go figure.
And
Go
sunny weather days.
Sunny Mondays and Fridays.
So you don't want the weather too bad, but you don't want it too good. You need something like today where it's, yeah, boy, it'd be great to be at work. So yeah, we have a lot of dedicated individuals that join us each day. And the one snow day that we had that many other districts seem to not want to be in person, within a matter of 45 minutes, Sam had located an additional 19 subs. Wow. That we brought on. So that was a 7 a.m. to 7:45. She had extra subs to have to find. So again, probably helped that a few other places were out, because subs do pick different districts. Quite hopeful that some of our partners in Dane County will probably be joining the ranks with ESS, but many of them had multi-year contracts with TOC that they could not break. We had strategically went with 1-year renewals each of the last 4 years, just because we're kind of hopeful that we might find a different plan. So we're doing well with our fill rates.
Can I ask a question?
You bet.
So what happens when you can't fill a position?
Well, then they migrate on to, particularly like at the high school or the middle school, they're able to reach out to their staff to see if the staff are willing to fill, like here at the high school, the block schedule. At the middle school, they'll sometimes shift around. There's just kind of that tier of, okay, here's the next plan, here's the next plan, here's the next plan. And then also, we look at the fact that we do have I'll get to the dedicated building subs, but they're often able to go between buildings, and that's one of the requirements, is that they're able to shift if there's a need elsewhere.
Are the subs employed, sorry for interrupting you, are they employed by TOC or ESS?
ESS.
Oh, okay, so in other words, but what I'm saying is someone who works for TOC, since that's what most of the school districts around here are,
Yeah.
still, they can't come on board?
Sure,
They can't, okay.
Yeah, they're independent.
They're independents, okay, yeah.
And, the same software is used
Okay.
by both companies. It's ASOP, which is a frontline software system. And so, the person just might have 2 accounts
Okay.
to accept jobs.
So Jeff, what happens if we don't have enough subs K-5? You talked about middle school and high school.
Yeah,
How is
again,
that handled?
they've been creative with, sometimes they're doing, I know over the years they've done sprinkling, which, they take 20 kids and spread it, if you have the 8 sections, they get spread out. Those are more an extreme need. There's coverage from related arts, there's coverage from administrative staff, so there's, I don't have the exact pecking order of the
Yeah, that's fine.
protocols that are in place for that. Day of the week, I think I kind of mentioned that Mondays and Fridays are the most challenging. One of the reasons why Tuesday is one of the higher days is because our pupil services and our DTL, Department of Teaching and Learning, they try to run most of this stuff on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We pretty much have nixed the idea that you ever run anything on a Monday or Friday. So that does help.
Taking a look at this chart, since Mondays and Fridays are the most difficult, any discussion about having a higher rate of pay on Mondays and Fridays?
Yep, we do incentives.
Okay.
Yep, so there are certainly incentives. When you hit April and May, sometimes we run, if you do 4 Fridays in a row, you get a bonus. So there are a lot of things that are going to place given season. We watch the Green Bay Packers schedule religiously because we do have situations on Mondays that tend, but if the Packers weren't as good and they go back to noon games, we probably won't have that much of a problem, but there always seem to be at evening games.
Sure.
So, I guess if we don't have snow days and we don't have a good football team, winter's gonna be nice.
I think we should let the Packers know the dilemma we're in, and maybe they could chip in something.
Yeah, maybe,
100%
That'd be
agree.
helpful. Maybe they could send some of their staff down the
Yeah, there you go.
So again, 90% rates of Tuesdays and Wednesdays for the data that's showing here. And, closer to the Friday is always usually a challenge.
So if we don't have school on a Friday, Jeff, do we see that challenge happening on Thursdays then?
Sure. Yeah.
Since it's
Or
the last day
if
of
we
the
don't
week.
have a school on a Monday, a Tuesday's a Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, we felt that in January.
We
had
did.
a Monday off and we felt Tuesday.
Mhm.
Absent lead time, and this is going to be impossible for you to read. I'm going to summarize it. Between CEPS, Wabisa, IMMS, and the high school, we're averaging about 15% of our lead time is within the last 24 hours. The national average is about 8 to 10%. So we're filling a lot more positions a little bit more last minute than we'd like to. And this shifts. This is the last 90-day snapshot. The previous 90-day snapshot had actually the high school and CEPS flipped.
Yeah.
And our average was 15% in the first 3 months versus these last 90 days. So it's something for us to just monitor and work on and ask people to care to share as early as they can.
Mhm. This is unusual though, like you say.
It is
Yeah.
higher than we certainly want.
Do you think it's because we have a younger staff? Who haven't been here long?
Could be that we still have a lot more illnesses that,
Mhm.
can take people out a little bit longer, or they're trying to
Their
battle
kids.
them.
Or family illness?
Kids.
Family illness,
Family.
yeah.
Yeah, it's,
I wonder if mental health stuff too, since that's also on the rise,
Yeah.
if it correlates. Interesting.
But that could be more planned, I think, versus last minute.
Wait.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
yeah, it's challenging.
Mhm.
But, again, we're filling the positions as best as we can, and it's moving right along. Payment information, I think some financial information is always good to take a look at. So if we looked at 22-23 and compared it to 2018-2019,
Sorry.
we
It's increasing.
back in 2018-2019, we were paying $117 a day for a sub-guest teacher, special ed aide. We're now at $145, so that's about a 24% increase, or $28 more. Oregon and Stoughton leapfrogged us this year, kind of at the last minute. Madison, who's barely running at 50% sub-fill rates, is certainly higher than everybody else. So we continue to be, what I'd say, in the game. And we certainly will have to be looking at probably somewhere closer to 150 to 155 probably this next coming year.
What kind of an impact is that in total?
I'll be getting to that.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. You were doing great.
Nice job anticipating our questions.
Dedicated building sub, I'm gonna jump to that first. So we jumped into a dedicated building sub as an idea during COVID to incentivize people to be here more often. And so while I shared that we pay $145, that's for someone that's filling a position that was announced a day or two earlier and they're picking up the job. This is $175 per day, which is about if you annualize that, it's about $32,637. The sub must be willing to do any role, special ed, regular ed, EA assistant. They're there to be the last minute fill. They're there to be super flexible. We have partner buildings, the middle school and high school because of location, and certainly at WIS and CEPS just because of usually the content and the structure. They also receive a paid time off day for every 20 consecutive days that they can either use it during, like, have a day off, but get paid for it if they've accumulated it in their bank, or at the end of the year, they could be paid out for those up to 8.5 days. So it's a significant little plan we built here. And then they also are encouraged to attend more of the trainings, particularly the building trainings, to be a little bit more part of the building, so.
And these are employed by ESS also?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
But do many do that? Do
Yes.
they-
Well, so
I would think the dedicated.
We have
some-
2 to 3 per building.
Okay.
And I would say, well, BISA, two of our retired teachers actually
Yes.
have 2 out of the 3 roles over there.
Mhm.
The elementary has 1, high school, middle school, I'm not sure, I can't remember if they have. So it's been going well. You know, there are days like last week where Wednesday and Thursday, didn't have any need for additional, but you know, we're certainly able to find other ways, and there was some partnering between the buildings a little bit, so you know, it's something we have to make sure that we don't have too many folks on duty, and you know, because we average 20 people out a day. And I think I have that in another slide coming up here. We used to average 15 just 4 years ago, so that's significant. So having people that are there every day, know their building, know the staff, can jump in at different areas are great.
Knowing the kids too.
Yeah, certainly.
That's awesome.
So Jeff, if, like last week, we didn't have to call on the dedicated subs like we would if we needed subs, would they ever go and relieve a teacher so the teacher could do student assessment?
It's a great question. Since we don't run into the situation, they are then available to help the teachers.
And then who directs them? The principal?
Well, they work
or
with the principals.
Assistant principal?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was rare. It was just, last week was a rare,
Yeah.
And that's across the entire district, correct? The 20 people a day?
yeah. So, the next piece, data and finance, kind of highlights that. So in 18-19, we're seeing 2,611 filled positions. We're anticipating the need for 3,497, so 3,500 fills this year, which is 20 per day. It's a 33% increase. As I noted earlier, our daily reimbursement rates are up 24%. So if you're wondering about the total budget there, this year, with having 20 per day, we're gonna hit more than what our budget is. And last year we also saw that, but not this significant. But partly it's because of our reimbursement rates having to go up, our average per day. So this budget it's gonna approach $500,000 this year, 59% change over 2018, 2019. So kind of scouring other budgets to see where they're, some of this will be offset by, there are some folks that are on leaves of absences that aren't compensated. So sometimes those budgets fill in the bucket here as well. So, but probably not $140,000 worth, so.
What's the national average? Like, how far off are we from that when you look at the?
That data I don't have.
Okay.
Because I think we'd have to run that also against the number of employees we have.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask what the percentage of our budget that is.
Yeah, just seems like a big
it's-
jump.
No, as far as the budget compared, that's, probably much, I mean, 350,000 is probably more in line with the size of our budget. So that's 1% of your budget.
When I take a look at the overall budget, Jeff, that is really secondary for me. What's most important for me is to have a qualified, highly qualified teacher in the classroom, supporting the kids every day, regardless of how much it costs.
We have to run you for state legislature there, Tom.
Yeah.
We'll fix that.
Yeah, money isn't my main concern.
No. And it should be our main concern. Our main concern should be the students
Yeah,
and how they're learning, what they're learning.
I think we're pretty happy to this point, aren't we?
We're good there.
Yeah.
We're halfway through the year.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good.
Incredible one, as that may seem.
Yeah, we're closer to the other side than the other
Yeah,
side,
we're
so-
going downhill.
Yeah. ESS does do a significant amount of recruiting plan that's from advertising to being at local events to being at Saturday events. I forget there was a fair that was back in December and Sam was there. She certainly knows about all of the events, and our building administrative assistants do a wonderful job of updating her of when there's gonna be some event that might have parents coming. And, you know, then she's out to local businesses, the library, so, you know, they're pounding the pavement, and it's no different than when we were running it. You have to constantly remind people that we need subs.
And I just think, Jeff, if potential subs taste the flavor of McFarland, because we have a lot to offer that other school districts cannot or do not offer, yeah, why
Yes.
wouldn't they want to come to McFarland?
Yeah, we have a recent add-on to our staff that was at a different district and was mindful of how much different this is at
Mhm.
times.
Yeah.
But- So again, recruiting, marketing, doing surveys, engaging with the staff, partnering with the district to do lots of little special events, thank yous. They do targeted sourcing. Our current staff is, oops, sorry, Angie. So we currently have about 75, 18 are not really active right now. Now that can mean that those folks might be down south.
Yeah.
They might be covering for a long-term sub in our district or another district. So, got the snapshot of this. You know, we brought in 30 active. I think we had 33 really active subs last year, of which 30 of them came over and stayed with us. And so their target for our size district, after learning kind of where we're at, they would like to have a pool of really more active, like about 75 to 85. Now, if we really were truly with 75 to 85, then we'd have to probably be looking at, you know, do we need as many dedicated building subs? Or do we drop down to maybe just having one or two in each building and not having potentially that third or that second? But, you know, it's something we'll just continue to evaluate for next year. Initiatives, again, Kickstart, referral, Employee of the Month, Impact Award, Extra Pay Fridays. Monthly gift card drawings, there were some drawings in February, and periodic raffles. Just some good pictures of some of the things. Donuts are always kind of a hit every once in a while, but popcorn and water and little treats. And Sam took it upon herself to write out cards to each of her staff in the fall and delivered those to them as well. So,
What is Sam's last name again?
Pruden?
Pruden.
Yeah.
And is that Sam in the picture up there?
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Substitute initiatives, incentives, a couple of our winners. And we do principal surveys. So it's in addition to the staff surveys, the principals get surveyed. This one, Jeannie Anderson, who's been with us for a little bit at the middle school, sent this text last week to Sam, and as I was asking Sam about some things, she's like, oh, I just got this. So, hope you're doing well, Sam, and I'm so grateful for you and your work. I don't need to try to communicate with someone in a different state and never have one person. Just a pool of people who jumble things up. ESS cares about people more than the schedule, and I am deeply grateful, Sam. The way things are arranged leaves me so much energy to focus on the students now. It's pretty powerful.
You're here.
It is.
Yep, and that's somebody who was with Teachers on Call for a long time.
Yep.
Great.
In closing, maybe we'll send this document off to you, but if you want to click on that little news article about some of our counterparts in different districts are struggling a little bit. Continued school visits to build relationships and help identify specific school needs, that's Sam. Monitoring non-working substitutes to clean out the existing substitute pool for the spring semester. Still working on goal of 75 to 85 staff in our pool. Look at more event recruitment and also just continue substitute engagement. So more meet and greets like we had in the fall.
So Jeff, we got the 75, 85, we actually would be able to cut our budget probably because we wouldn't have to have that third, you're saying, possibly?
Yeah, I think it's too early to.
Yeah.
But eventually.
Yeah, I think, if you wanted to cut the budget, we'd be closer to 15 people out a day instead of 20, to be honest.
that
I
would be
think
a
that's,
Right.
so, we'll see how these averages go for us. So, but, to think about, 18, 19 to now, the staff we've added have not been staff increases that would have required substitutes. Our classroom student
Yeah.
individuals, that amount of staffing has pretty much remained the same. So this is just that we have more people out on a daily basis. So.
Is that increased steadily over a extended period of time, or was that something that took a significant jump, maybe post-pandemic?
Yeah.
Can I give you my experience?
Please.
Because I don't ever remember doing it until basically about 2010. And then all of a sudden, I'd get a call, can you cover for a colleague? And that happened more and more often.
A lot of discouraged teachers.
Yeah, it was strange. I just remember all of a sudden that happened. And I don't remember it ever being in my early part of my career.
Okay.
I mean, we've had the ASOP system for 15,
Well, at
16,
least.
17 years.
Yeah.
And we get daily reports. We were closer, like, without the Department of Teaching and Learning, sometimes they have to run things that'll spike it. But you're normally about 10 to 12. And then we jumped closer to the 15, but, in 4 years' time, it's a solid average of 20 or more now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's something that's been a really significant difference in our time here, which has been.
20 years.
That we used to have a significant amount of professional development that happened during the school day that required subs. And now that is as minimal as we can keep it. So you're seeing the numbers of requests increasing while at the same time, we've decreased the things that we have control over. And so we're paying staff to engage in professional development at other
Outside of
times.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also probably an
yeah, I mean, you could almost
Invisible
say that
budget.
you're probably 25 to 30
Mhm.
closer for, the professional development. When I first arrived here, it was like 2 to 3 times a week. There was 10 to 15 people in this room.
Yep.
I remember Jackie Hickey going, I can't find subs for all this. I'm like, well, then send people back to the buildings. So,
We did.
I think part of the rationale, though, is that if we had offered a PD that we felt was important, we really wanted a team to be there, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had it during the summer, teachers could opt out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, you've been able to bridge that difference now.
Yeah, by building in the PD during the
Yes.
school year.
Yeah.
Again, Sam Pruden, she's done a marvelous job this year. She has the support of her Vice President of Operations, which has this region, Becky Saffels. Becky is on site a couple times, or about every other month. She'll be around this week as well. And similar to how they build their teams, Becky used to do exactly what Sam's role was for a couple school districts, I believe in the Carolinas. And then Carrie Roberts, again, from our office. And then our building administrative assistants that really make this go.
Yeah.
It's Julie, Gina, Angie, and Sarah. But, you know, the nice thing is we were getting to the point where our building administrative assistants were on the phone at 6 in the morning handling this stuff. And that's went back to now they are able to just arrive at their jobs and know that Sam, our local manager, is taking care of that, so.
That's nice.
Where does she live? Sam.
She's in the area.
She is in the area, okay.
She's local.
She's local.
Yeah.
So Jeff, I have a couple other questions, because you answered most of the questions that I would have raised. Are there other vendors out there besides TOC and ESS?
I don't know about that.
No, I mean, ones that specialize in education,
Mm-hmm.
no. ESS really, and TOC were kind of the only two that really specialized, but then TOC was taken over by Kelly Temporary Service, and that's not,
I understand that.
so when that happened, we saw a change.
Mhm.
I felt the change. So that's why we were already starting to look pre-pandemic.
Back then, yeah. What about the cost comparison with ESS versus teacher on call? Was there
So-
much of a difference?
So for every dollar you pay, there's a percentage that you pay on top of that. So it ranges from 27 to 31% depending on the category. But, you know, that's also because they're paying for all of the payroll taxes, processing the payrolls. So it's pretty common to be upper 20s and low 30s.
So is it comparable as far as the cost to
Between
the
the two?
district?
It is in the sense that, you know, we also have a local manager now.
Yeah, I think that's
So
huge.
there is an added
So that'd be
expense there.
different,
Now, we also have a unique contract because we're the first school district in the
Mhm.
state. So if others join, our rate changes.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
they'll bring it a little bit closer down.
Mm-hmm.
If other school districts do join, does that mean that we would save or share Sam with other
So
districts?
Sam works about 20 hours a week for ESS. Certainly if, you know, a local district popped in, which, you know, if she certainly wanted more hours,
Mm,
she could certainly look at that, but she's quite happy here.
yeah. Mhm.
So.
I didn't know if
Good
they have,
fit.
if like each district gets its own.
They could.
manager.
This really fits her family life and her young children and kind of how she can blend that as well, so.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
we had 3 very good candidates and Sam was our best one.
Yeah, she's done great.
That's good.
Cool.
Anything else? If not, thank you very much, Mr. Mahoney.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks for
Thanks for
making this happen.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
We'll move on to the district administrator's report. A school safety written drill evaluation notification and review per state statute 118.074 CP.
Yeah, so you see in your packet, was an administrative hold at the high school. It's interesting, I was looking at some of the feedback we're getting about what are you looking for in an associate principal. And one of the things somebody said was there's just so much more medical issues at the high school than there used to be. And I just wanted to, it just made me think of this when I saw that. There aren't. We're just telling you about them, you know, and that's one of the things I worry sometimes when you increase communication, it makes people think things are just changing. No, we're just letting you know so that you don't worry and your kid comes home and you hear about it and then, like, you know. So keep that in mind. These are things that have happened for a long time. We're just telling you about them. I have some recognitions, if I can move into that. I was not able to attend, but we had the K-8 PTO meeting recently, and Dr. Hauser and our very own school resource officer, Zietzma, presented on internet safety, and I heard really positive things from families. They went home and did some things.
I heard that as well.
So, based on kids and their devices. So I still haven't had a chance to watch the video, but it is out and available to watch. But that's kind of one of those topics you could talk about every year, because as your kids get older, you hear it differently. So,
Probably talk
Sorry.
about it twice a year.
yes, really. Especially before the summer. Also, very, appreciative of the student leaders and the high school staff leaders, Kelly Thompson and Aaron Fisher, for organizing Tasha Shu that was here and presented to our high school students, and then as well to community. It had a nice turnout in both places. I know some of you were able to attend, but just a really powerful message about resiliency and mental health and taking care of ourselves and others. Really nice presentation. The United Against Hate and through this Packer grant had identified there were a couple topics they really wanted to make sure we had presenters to talk about. One was the hate speech, which we did, and then mental health was another one. This one was really special because we were able to partner with the Village, who contributed financially and also in promotion for the evening event. So that was a nice partnership.
How many folks attended the evening event?
I think I figure about 50. Does that feel about right?
Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Should have been 500,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But
We'll take the 50.
when we,
I know.
the school body, I was able to go to that, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, it was just good.
Yeah, you were at the student one, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was really fun.
very powerful, and the kids were just so positive, I think, about, the way they handled it, or the way it was presented, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boy, they get excited about a stress ball. Like, you throw
Yeah,
a stress
these are
ball
high
at a kid
schoolers.
and, yeah,
It was high school.
they were jumping out of their seats to get a stress ball.
Yeah.
I was able to, had a nice dinner with Tasha and her husband. That was really a nice thing too, between the two, and got to know her a little bit, so,
That's cool.
yeah, special person. Also, that day, really powerful day, we had the 7th grade Courage Retreat. So that's, we contract with a group called Youth Frontiers that brings a whole grade level in, and they talk about kind of challenges they face, and it culminates with students each writing down an act of courage. And then they have the opportunity to share that with their peers. So there's a hot mic, and they, one at a time, can come up. And, it's, it's powerful. It's a tearjerker. And that's something we've done for a long time. It took a pause with that nasty pandemic, and this is the first one that we've had back since the
Was that called
pandemic.
something else in the past?
The high school has had a challenge day.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
And so this is similar. It's a different group.
That's a difficult day.
But very similar in that sense. And it's neat because it's a whole grade level
Yeah.
all at once.
Is it typically 7th grade?
That's what we've done. Yep,
Okay,
the
yeah.
middle of the middle.
Yeah.
My experience, and I can speak from experience here, is that is the most challenging year in middle school and probably of a student's life. So 7th grade's a perfect time for that. We usually like to have it a little earlier in the school year, but this was one we could get on their calendar. One of the things that's really neat, and I really am grateful for the people involved in leadership, Jill Rundy was probably the main sort of champion of this work, and organizing high school students lead small groups of 7th graders, and that is a really powerful part. And she made an effort, and so did the high school staff, to make sure that the high school students really were a wide variety of kids, and including made sure that it was really balanced gender-wise. And so that was just a really, really powerful thing, and yeah.
So Aaron, how does the district measure the long-term success, effectiveness of that program?
Yeah, we don't have any way to know that any changes are specific to that event. You know, that's always the hard thing in anything you do in education, because it's also something that is not just a one-time event. So what they'll do is they incorporate it into their social emotional learning curriculum ahead of time and afterwards as well. The easiest thing, I guess, for us to look at is student behavior and bullying-related incidents. So we always are tracking those on a regular basis. So it'll be interesting to see if we see a change in that specific class yet this year. Although you do see spikes in those in any given year. But, yeah.
Do you feel like, it'll probably just be anecdotal, but that we have more, if you see something, say something, kind of things where they actually have bullying reported and put into our process that we have? Do we have more kids doing that now, or do you feel like that's, I know it's always a struggle.
Yeah, I can only speak off, kind of my experience. The high school I haven't in the past been accessed the high school reports. But my perception, I get all the reports for the whole district now that are done through our anonymous system. We really don't get paper copies anymore. Really, everything is through Sprigeo. And we'll be transitioning to a new system next year that is free. So through the Department of Justice. But I feel like there's been an increase in reports in the high school. The middle school has always had a ton, several a week. And most often there's a couple things, a couple trends. Most often there's more representative of a conflict than bullying. And I always tell students, like, don't worry about whether it's bullying or not. If you need help, ask for help. And we'll figure that part out. There are also some teacher complaints. I thought there might have been some snow day complaints. There weren't. They sent emails directly to me, not anonymously. So, but they do. Students use it frequently. Occasionally, a parent. Occasionally, I'd say maybe, I don't know, once or twice a month.
That's what it's there for.
There's a lot of reports.
That's excellent. I'm
Then
glad
once
to
a-
hear it.
then once
I mean,
again-
I'm not
yeah.
glad to hear it, because there's a
Yeah.
lot to report, but I'm glad that the reports are happening. I'm sorry.
Then once again, how do we measure the effectiveness of that? See something, say something.
Yeah, so one of the things, one of the things we do track is repeat. So like if an incident occurs, is reported to us, and we address it, do we find out about it again? Now, you only know what's reported to you, right? I mean, that's always the hard part. And I can't speak for the high school, but for the middle school, almost 100% of them were addressed once, one and done.
That's
Of
great.
course, we don't know if they're
Right.
not reported again, so I don't want to mislead. The other thing we do see a lot of reports about through this system, and then through our Securely system, which tracks keystrokes that anybody makes on the computer, are self-harm concerns. So people will report a concern about one of their peers and self-harm. And so we'll get that. Most often, those come through securely. So as long as a student is logged into our network, what they type is tracked. And they know this is not a secret. And that's most often how we find out self-harm concerns. And that's 24/7. We get calls and sometimes need to call the police at times. None of those things existed years ago, so good stuff. Speaking of reporting, wanted to recognize the high school has these spear teams. I think you know about them, but they're like staff committees, right, that are interdepartmental. And one of theirs is a student culture spear team. And that group introduced this idea of safe spots for students. And it's a place kind of at the beginning of each period, people have volunteered to give up their prep time, high school staff. If a student kind of has something they're thinking about reporting, but they're not really sure and they want to kind of talk it over. Specific to, one of the things they highlight is hate speech, but it could be anything that they want to report. So they're just starting this. And I just thought, like, what a great initiative to have staff go, we want to provide as many ways for students to feel comfortable reporting any concerns. So I wanted to
That's cool.
shout out to that. Another recognition, Connect wanted me to pass along as well, that they continue to work on getting 18-year-olds registered to vote. So they're working with the League of Women Voters. They have staff that are trained, or students that are trained to help students register online. So
Cool.
crazy thing, good thing. All right, and then I wanted to move into some photos, which is also appreciations, because there's some great things, as you know, to celebrate. So we have some friendship essays here. February is really Friendship Month. I just love the fireplaces. I would get sappy with that. But they wrote some essays, some authentic writing. Had the robotics club at the middle school competed in a state tournament, and that's always really exciting for them. Those tournaments are intense. We've hosted before, so the next time we host, I'll try to make sure so you can stop by and see it. But there's like a challenge. You got to get your robot to lift this and go here, and just a really nice thing. And that is Alan Kinnaman, the best middle school technology and engineering teacher in the state.
How did the team do you know?
I don't remember how they did for this. They didn't make it on to the next level,
Okay.
which they have before. They've actually gone on to nationals, and I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. This is another neat thing. The High School Hope SWAD members were teaching high school staff how to recognize signs of suicide. And that's the QPR framework that you may have been familiar, you may have been trained on, I know many of us have, but helping students get the resources they need. So, we have such a powerful group of students making a difference with our staff and a staff that's really committed to that work. The Spartan headquarters, I think we mentioned this previously, but kind of a nice acknowledgement about them getting the gold certified school enterprise, school-based enterprise, so that recognition out of 461 schools. So it's a really neat thing, and it's so student-led. I'm just always impressed on how they can pull themselves back as the adults and let students struggle with the things. They do a great job.
Cool.
Of course, we had School Resource Officer Appreciation Day after our last board meeting, and it's just kind of nice to celebrate Officer Zietsma, and he's really had a great start. Bus Driver Appreciation Week held that as well, and we are so fortunate we talked about our guest teachers and how fortunate we are to have the fill rates. Nelson's does such a great job, and we are very fortunate to have a fully staffed bus company, so that is not the same everywhere. You see those articles about, school principal drives bus. I like our school principals, and myself included, we should not be driving buses. So, we are just not to be trusted. No, I'm sure there's fine drivers, but that's a lot of responsibility.
I think with the other thing about the bus drivers, it's sort of a passion for them.
Yes,
They just love kids,
they do.
and they'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe.
Well said. Like our crossing guards, very
Yeah.
similar sort of,
Yeah.
I love doing this, kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Wanted to mention the batting cages. So these are batting cages at Conrad Albium, and they're recently installed, but wanted to show you kind of in action, right? It's going so fast, it's blurry in that one. I love that. But that was brought on through MRAP and our high school softball and baseball programming. And so a few notes about this is that it really is able to address both our needs, but then community needs. So T-ball, other players, you used to have to travel somewhere to get a good batting cage. And so that is right there. So it's in the cafeteria. They're up above your head. If you're ever in there, and look up, you'll see some nets and wonder why they're there. That's what happened to me. Now we can open that up through MRAP. So community members can come and use those batting cages. I mean, what a cool thing that is.
Board members? Could
Yeah,
board members
yeah.
go over there?
Yes, board members through MRAP can go over there. Good luck to you. And we're starting to kind of slowly roll this out this spring, kind of work out some kinks, kind of a soft opening, with more programming in the fall and the winter. But this is really, Alicia Fix and Stu Schaefer and Jeff Mahoney and Bill Faust really doing that and continuing to provide more opportunities for our community to use our facilities. Look at that. Who knew? I don't know if any of you saw, this actually happened, that was a busy day the
It
other
was
day.
on Wednesday.
Yeah, it was on Wednesday. Everything was happening, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
This competition, they were practicing, doing a practice for the competition in Appleton that's coming up here on the 14th. And so they had a judge that was there giving them feedback, and I'm not going to read all the fancy things that were in there, although Bruce and I were hungry for the salmon, I'll tell you. Love a good salmon. So look at that plate.
That's delicious.
That's pretty. They did a great job. I think we have another picture here too, and you can see the judge there and the staff involved, or the students involved.
Wow.
So thank you to Arlene Welcher, who's really been organizing all of that, and our students. And they look so great at all that stuff. They were serious. And they were kind of like, I don't know, those places where they say, like, you can't interact with the public. Like, they were very focused. They were not allowed to talk to us. And we were not allowed to talk to them. And of course, the news, right? Sectional champions. The big game, and we've got state coming up, traveling to Green Bay on Friday. That was a good chunk of my day. Today was figuring out how we're going to cover
Subs.
subs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's a bus situation also, I think.
There is, and others thankfully have been handling that. So thank you to the high school administrative team and Paul Ackley for organizing that. So tickets on sale, and the bus, they're gonna have middle school and high school fan buses.
Yeah, that's
And
very
let us
cool.
hope that we'll
Headed
have
up
the same
there.
problem next week too.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Very nice.
Crazy.
Yes.
Well, it wouldn't be
Yes.
quite as bad because next week is here in Madison.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
that's true.
Yeah.
The
That
trip to
is
Green
true.
Bay complicates it a
That's
significant
True.
amount.
Well, but that could mean more people leaving as
Sure.
well, so it could
Oh,
be.
yeah.
Thank
This
you
would
for
be
reading my
another
mind, Bruce.
Yes.
Yep. I will be gone, so. Yes, so regional champs for the boys, and of course, sectional champs for our
It was
girls.
a fine high school basketball game.
Yes.
Here. The boys played MG, and it was a
Close one.
all, the entire time. It was
Yeah.
a very, very well-played, hard-fought basketball game.
It's been a really successful winter season for
Right.
McFarland. I mean,
Swimming.
because the
Yep.
boys swim team was second in the state,
Right.
and then now
Yeah.
the basketball teams are doing really well.
It's
And the
amazing.
dance team too.
And the
right?
dance
And the
team,
dance
yeah.
team,
Yeah.
yes.
State competition.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a very
Yeah.
successful
Mhm.
Yeah, well said.
season. Yep.
Very
Huge
true.
thanks
Young
to the
swimmers
coaches.
have done
True.
very well, too, our Sharks.
Yes,
There's a lot of good going on around town.
there is.
That is
There
true.
is. I love their graphic
I'm sure Ava
designers.
loves that.
And
picture.
DECA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
State DECA awards. You can see here we have 14 members that are going to be going to Orlando, but so many people. Chapter awards and project awards and medal performances. Actually saw a parent this weekend, and we were chatting about their child's experience, and the students are just amazing, but the leadership, you know, what Sarah and Ginger do, I just don't know. I don't think they sleep. I don't know when they sleep. Those are two driven humans. And it's just so exciting to think that these students are going out into the world, you know, and going to be leading businesses moving forward for us. So just really neat pictures. I just love that picture with Valerie. She's just so excited right there. I can't believe it. But a lot of hard work goes into that, and they're putting themselves out there. So really a special thing.
Oh, and they have so many of the extra ribbons. Look at those. If you've ever been to a conference where you get the lanyard and then every color of a ribbon is something else you've achieved. And look at how long they are.
Wow.
They're like at Val's knees. Right?
Yeah, I had 2 once.
It's remarkable.
Kudos.
That's awesome.
And I feel like I skipped one in the beginning. Did I miss the author visit? Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Somehow I did that.
That's cool.
So we're going to finish with the author visit. You may have seen this at our elementary level. Had an author, a children's author, come. I was able to see a little bit of this myself, and he had the students work on an illustration. They were drawing a rabbit, and just really engaging. And I just think, what a neat way to make literacy tangible for our students. So that was really exciting. I think that concludes my report.
Very comprehensive. Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
thanks to Angie for compiling the slideshow.
That's great.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to action items. First is action on approval of WIAA Girls Wrestling Cooperative Team Sponsorship.
Yeah, and I mentioned this in the McFarland minutes, but for the public, I will kind of explain this to you. This is one I don't need to look at my notes for, because I know a little bit about this. So it really doesn't change anything for us. So we've always had the ability to have a co-ed wrestling team. The difference is that the WIAA has now started some women-only competitions. And so state just happened recently, the state wrestling tournament. And so this was the first year where they actually had one tournament, and
Together.
girls and the boys wrestled at the same time, but separately, girls wrestling girls. And so in order to move forward so that our female wrestlers could compete in these tournaments with other female wrestlers, it would require action from the board to approve that. Of course, they can, compete against males, which they do pretty much all season as well.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the request for approval of the WIA Girls Wrestling Cooperative Team Sponsorship.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bruce. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kate, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Action on the second reading and adoption of policy 2414, human growth and development. Where are we on this in terms of, have further questions? Have we made the changes that satisfy all of us? So if there are no other questions,
But I'll make a comment. I think this is a reflection of the makeup of the board. We all bring different perspectives. And thank you for your perspective for this particular policy. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
second that.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. The one thing I was going to say was, I was actually going to thank all of you. So much gratitude today. For just being open and receptive to those perspectives. I've gotten direct feedback from
Me too.
community members and staff and community members who said thank you very much specifically for us all being open to changing all of that. So, yeah, thanks for valuing that.
I think it's a good example too of, the board members recognizing the importance of that role, your role in terms of policies, and looking beyond just the changes that we bring to you, which is something I'm gonna try to remind us all about. When we're looking at a policy, let's not look at just what Neola says. Let's look at all of it. So,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Awesome.
Anything else? I would look for a motion then.
I'll move to
Good.
approve the second reading and adoption of policies 2414, human growth and development, as recommended by administration.
Thank you, that only seems appropriate.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Action on recommended WEVA, Destinations Career Academy and Insight School of Wisconsin Statute 118.408G, student transfers to resident districts. At this time, WEVA, Destinations Career Academy, and Insight School of Wisconsin are requesting approval of recommended student transfers back to their resident districts due to lack of engagement. Any discussion?
Sure. If you take a look at the list, again, these are children, kids.
Little.
And I'm particularly interested in those students that are K through second grade because they can't advocate for themselves. They have no empowerment. And I understand why we have to do this, and I will, certainly prove it. But there has to be a better way. And I know things are being worked on behind the scenes a little, but every time we approve these, it's another batch of kids going off into never, never, ever land, I suspect.
And, I don't believe we're ever officially notified whether or not these kids go back to their resident
we aren't.
districts and re-enroll, but my suspicion is that that's a relatively low percentage.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Because they've left it for some reason or another.
Right. And
previous.
there's 14 young children, kindergarten through second. These are 5 to 7, 8-year-olds. I mean, they need advocates, and I'm not sure how to get them advocates. But personally, I view it as a form of neglect. Not on the part of the board or educational system, but others. And for the state to allow this to continue the way it is, to knowing that families are not held accountable for supporting their kids, which is a right that each individual child should have. It's just heartbreaking.
Well said.
But you've heard me say that before, and you'll hear me say it
I think we all
again.
feel the same.
Yep.
So I would look for a motion.
I'll move to approve the WEVA Destinations Career Academy and Insight School of Wisconsin recommended student transfers back to their resident districts due to lack of engagement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And at this point, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll second.
Kate, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0, and we are adjourned at 8:10 p.m. on Monday, March 6th. Great job, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Craig.
And thank you,
Yes.
Craig.
Mhm.